Hello and welcome to our next session. I'll just introduce you to Paul Hill, Managing Director of Daily Pay NI and VP of Engineering. For over 30 years, Paul has been immersed within leadership and management roles, beginning his career as an officer cadet, leading to 10 years in the US Air Force as an officer in the B-52 operations. Paul then held multiple roles in leadership positions within the software industry. During his 10 years in the Air Force, Paul acted as B-52 navigator, flight operations scheduler, radar navigator, and director of current operations for Minot Air Force Base. Working in the field of operations within the Air Force has given Paul the appreciation and capability of making high quality, fast-paced, critical decisions in high-pressured situations. After leaving the Air Force, he used his prolific experience in leadership and computer science to build and lead software development teams. Paul has over 9 years of experience with managing 24/7 operations for SaaS solutions. Paul has spent over 20 years building and leading teams for software companies. In 2017, he established the Bizarre Voice R&D site in Belfast. Paul had a 2-year stint at Amazon before joining Daily Pay in August of 2021 and established and built the Daily Pay NI Limited site in Belfast. With that, I invite Paul to stage. Thank you.
Thanks. I think she probably did most of my first introduction. As she said, I've been in the industry for about 25, 26 years. I guess now it's more than 9 years in software as a service organizations. Amazon was a little bit different because I focused on Kindle, which wasn't really, it was consumer products, so consumer software, so it wasn't really SaaS. We didn't have 24/7 operations really, but Daily Pay we do. I've spent a lot of time building software, leading teams to build software, and like I said, most of my introduction is already done, so I'll go ahead and move on. What does Daily Pay do? So the name is what we do. Daily Pay is a company that we provide the ability for someone that works today to get their pay the next day, or even today in some cases. We have built technology and operations that allow us to provide up to 100% of net earnings to a person who might need the money and be able to transfer it to their bank account or their debit card. And on a weekly basis, at this point in time in our business, we're transferring over $700 million to people's bank accounts and debit cards. Pretty impressive. If things continue tracking the way they are, we should be over around $1 billion, somewhere over $900 million by the middle of December. So about 11 years ago, I was introduced, I went to actually another conference, Agile Austin, I think is what it was called, where I sat in on a 30-minute presentation on Kanban, and it changed my life. Now at the time, as you probably already know, I was working for Bizarre Voice, and I was a senior engineering manager there, and the company had gone public in 2012, and they lost over 40% of their staff between 2012 when they went public and when I joined in early 2014. And when I say staff, I'm talking about engineers. And as all of you can probably imagine, that was really devastating to the engineering team, like losing all that knowledge of the systems. And in 2011, the CTO made the profound statement to say, we're going to change over to microservices and agile teams, and they spent tens of thousands of dollars of training all of those engineers in how to do agile, and primarily sort of combination of Scrum and Kanban. And it kind of sucked because they lost all that knowledge over the course of that 2 years from 2012 to 2014. So as part of my extra duties as an engineering manager, I was asked to check out, what do we need to do to sort of up our game? Oh yeah, the other profound statement, we're going to replace our legacy system in a year. So I left 10 years after that, and they still hadn't replaced that legacy system. So, so that was a really profound one. Anyway, so we lost all those people. I was asked, so Paul, you're doing your job fine. Here's an extra thing. We need to figure out how to up our game when it comes to agile software engineering. And so I got involved. I went to this agile conference and sat in on this Kanban training. Met this guy named Eric Green, and wow, this sounds really cool. Maybe too good to be true, but okay, we'll check it out. So I put together a proposal, 20 grand. I asked our CTO, I want to spend 20 grand, have this guy come in and train 4 teams, and let's see how it goes. And so this isn't a talk about Kanban, just so we know. But it's a sort of foundation for what I want to talk about here. So what happened, there are a couple of really interesting statements he made during the training. And one of those statements was, Kanban is a humane way of building software. And so that's why this title really resonated with me. Engineering for humans and building high-velocity teams with empathy, autonomy, and trust, right? So in the process of the first training, this is one of the most memorable things from the training that I have, and there's a lot of things I remember from it, but stop starting and stop finishing. And I'm sure most of us here have been in meetings, been in conversations where engineering manager, VP, director, somebody like that says, well, can't we just get started? Just get started, right? We'll get it. We'll figure out how to get it done, but let's get started, right? But what value does something have when you start it? It gives you a perception of making progress, but does it actually have you are you actually making progress? And my opinion, and I think proven over and over, at least in my experience, is no, it doesn't, right? But I really like this slide when I was putting together the deck, because I think be slow starting. So start slow. And what that means to me is it doesn't mean be slow or do things slowly. It means to me to think before you act. Come up with a plan. So the 5 P's or the 6 P's, prior planning prevents poor performance. The dirty version, prior planning prevents piss poor performance. And you can keep going. You can keep adding P's to it, apparently, like 6 or 7 of them, 8 of them I think I've seen at least in one case. But by starting slow, coming up with a plan, you can finish faster. And I've seen this over and over and over. And it can be really hard sometimes because, when you slow down, and I firmly believe in this statement, slow down to speed up. What I think a lot of leaders focus on here, and to engineers even, is they hear slow and they think, oh, you're going to go slow. It's well, that's not what I said. That's not what I meant. It's slow down means don't rush into things. Think about what you're going to do. I'm positive everyone here has been in positions where it's, well, let's hurry up and get this out. It's okay. That bug's okay. Just get it out because, don't worry about it. We'll fix it later, right? Fixing it later costs time, costs money, right? So slowing down to go faster because, you want to deliver at a sustainable, rapid pace, but not at a risky, dangerous pace, right? Where you cause problems, where you create more work for yourself. So velocity here. Interesting as I was preparing for this, or maybe not interesting, but maybe interesting to me, was I was preparing for this. Velocity and speed are kind of those sort of the same thing, but actually, if you look at it, they are different. Velocity needs a direction, a path. Speed does not. So velocity isn't just about running fast. It's about getting someplace effectively, efficiently, in a rapid fashion. right? Or as rapid as it makes sense. So the myth of velocity is velocity does not mean you're productive, right? So just like speed doesn't mean you're going, difference between efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency, you're going really well, but if you're not effective, you're not going anywhere. Like just because you're running at, high RPMs, but you're spinning your wheels, doesn't really get you anywhere. So, and again, we've probably all been in the situation, assuming we're all sort of software engineers here, we've all been in the situation where we've had to hack together a solution for something. And we hacked it together because somebody said it was urgent, we needed it right now, business is going to fail, whatever, right? And maybe at the time that may have been the right thing to do, right? But we all know also when you hack things together, they break, unfortunately, rather frequently. And you tend to always be fixing them. And whereas if maybe you'd taken a day or half a day or even a few days and thought it through what you were going to do, it wouldn't have been that fragile code base or that fragile solution that you can't sustain. You can't keep fixing it. And eventually you get to a point where it's like, oh, we just got to rewrite it, right? Throw it away and start over, right? So just because you're moving fast doesn't mean you're being productive. If you move fast without thinking ahead, then you might build fragile code that you're fixing for years. And we've got a lot of legacy stuff at Daily Pay. We managed to, legacy monolithic Frankenstein code that turned the business into a $400 million plus year revenue company. Awesome. But it's not microservices. It's not fault tolerant. Yes, we have disaster recovery, we have backups and everything, but if something were to keep me up at night, it's what if AWS East went down again? That seems to happen about once a year. Seems to happen right about around the same time, and we lost access to everything. What would we do, right? So we want to go far, and we want to get there fast, but we don't want to get there fast at the expense of everything else, right? All right, so all that's kind of just leading up to the main point here, or the points here I want to make. So what do we do about it? Like, how do we build organizations, teams, software in a way that we don't put ourselves into that bind, where we're always fixing things, always trying to deal with today's emergency instead of building for the future, when the company is generating $2 billion in revenue or something like that, right? So I'm very passionate about people. My little brother taught me, or made a statement to me, and it taught me something a long time ago. And that is, it's like companies don't take care of people. People take care of people. Yes, companies have benefits. Companies have pay, they pay you. They have health care benefits, life insurance, all that stuff. But a person made the decision as to what those would be and how much those would cost and how much you would have to pay of your portion of it, right? So people first doesn't mean people over everything to me, because you still have to perform, but people first in our thinking. Empathy is a key part of that. Being empathetic to the people you work with, not just you if you're a leader, a person, people leader, a manager, or whatever, but team members, right? Being empathetic to your team, understanding what they're going through, right? And the example was up here, like blameless postmortems. You probably all heard that. You don't want to sit at a postmortem when something's gone wrong and blame people. People should take responsibility, sure, but let's not blame. But to me, it starts before that. As an engineering manager, BV taught me one-on-ones, like they're not monthly, they're not bi-monthly, or every other month or quarterly. They're every week. You're talking to your people every week. And it's not about you or me in this case. It's not about me. One-on-one isn't about me. It's about the person coming to that one-on-one. What do they need? What are they interested in? Everybody's life is different. One person may be a senior software engineer and they're perfectly happy right where they are. They don't want to move on. They've got maybe a newborn, and they're dealing with raising a brand new kid, and they're like up at all hours, feeding the baby, changing diapers, and all that. And then you have, senior software engineers that they don't have any kids. They may not have a partner, or maybe their kids are all grown. And it's like their stage in life is very different, right? And you as a manager, it's your responsibility to know that. A senior engineer with a kid that's just born is probably not worried about the promotion to staff software engineer or whatever's next in your business. They're probably just worried about making sure that the money's coming home, that they're getting enough sleep, hopefully enough sleep. They're able to take care of the kids, right? But a senior software engineer that doesn't have any kids or has already had their kids grow up or they're older, maybe they're more focused on, the next promotion. How do I get to that next promotion? And as senior technicians, so principal engineers, senior staffs, and you've got a senior software engineer on your team, it's like we should understand what they're looking for, what's next in their life, and balance things according to their needs. That takes empathy. It takes understanding. It takes them trusting you and you trusting them, right? So empathy is a kind of key starting point, because then that helps build trust. But autonomy is the next one, right? So when with the Air Force is really good at it, but the U.S. military is really good at this too. A lot of people would think, "Oh, you're in the military, so." And as an officer, you just told people what to do. It's just like business, really. At least in the Air Force, it was. Navy's very similar. But even the Army and the Marines, it's like they give a mission to the squad. They give a mission to the team, and their job is to deliver on that mission. You give them the mission, the goal, the objectives. Maybe the guardrails is on the slide, or the rules of engagement, right? What things do you have to stay? What are your constraints? So if we're talking software, what are your constraints that you have to operate under? But then you let them come up with the plan, all right? I was given your objective for this mission, for this particular flight was, you need to drop a payload here during this window. You need to in-flight air refuel. You need to drop missiles here at this time. And then that was it. Now my job was to figure out how much fuel we needed. What was our timing? What was our takeoff time? Where were we air refueling? Were we air refueling before or after we dropped whatever payload it was? So that was all my decision as a navigator. And the radar navigator would be in charge of backing me up, make sure I didn't make any horrible mistakes. And then the pilots, of course, cross-check me again. But that autonomy made it enjoyable, made it a challenge. So when we're talking software, like if you have your product manager dictating to you, this is the piece of software I want you to use to go deliver this particular product feature, like that sort of isn't fun, right? It's like, well, what am I here for? I'm not a monkey. Like, I'm not just writing code. I'm like, I want to think. I want to problem solve, right? And so autonomy is critical for growth, and I think for motivation. And with that autonomy, it gives you freedom that I think most everyone craves. Not everybody. Some people are okay taking, just tell me what to do. But a lot of people, most people, I'd say, they want the freedom of choice. They want to make the decision on which direction we're going, what pieces of software we're using, what libraries, things like that, right? And with empathy and autonomy, next comes trust. Like empathy helps build and leads to more autonomy. Autonomy leads to trust, or helps build that trust. So trust is something that has a flywheel effect. So I guess two stories here. One, when I was at BV, we just finished delivering a replacement for our old front end. So we had at that time we had sort of 3 front ends with the 2 new ones being much more performant, running off Elasticsearch, and one required a DNS entry change, which is a problem in of itself. And then the other one was pretty easy. It was essentially, they call it Firebird. It was package it up and then ship it out via JavaScript. You'd download it and unpackage it, unzip it, and run it in your browser. We finished delivering like the final customer, switching them all over. And two engineers, one worked for me and one didn't work for me, came to me with a proposal. Hey, we've got this old API, we killed it over a year ago, but we think we could revisit it or revive it, bring it back up, and we think it could replace the legacy API that we're using. And we think we could do it really fast. I was like, okay, well, all right, tell you what, we just finished this, take a couple weeks, see what you can do. All right, see if you can get it back up and running. It's basically archived and been sitting out there, nobody touching it in over a year. And so they took that week. They did get back up and running. They came up with a plan and a proposal that came to me. It's like, okay, this is our proposal. And it's really a test first. We're going to build tests. We're just going to build a bunch of tests to make sure we're covering all the different angles that we need to address. And then we think that we can have this fully up and running and have our first customers online on it by December. I'm like, okay, all right, let me see if I can get it approved, which I was very excited about it because it was like, boy, we can shut off millions of dollars worth of legacy infrastructure if we can actually make this happen. So huge impact for the company. And they started, they built tests, and then we got to late October, and now I'm getting nervous. I'm getting scared. It's like, are you sure? Are we still going to be able to make this? And I won't lie. I mean, I don't want to micromanage. I don't like micromanaging, but I did. Like, what's going on? Are we going to be okay? Like, I made some promises here. And we're only about 95% pass rate, and 95% is what we were looking for before we started switching customers. And then we discovered, oh, wait. Yes, they're passing all the tests, but we're not sure if it matches what's currently in production. So it had set up a whole new, I moved a lot slower than I thought. So we had to set up a whole new set of tests that were basically comparison tests. And in a nutshell, we got it out in December. The thing I earned out of that was that engineers worked for me at 3 different companies. All right, and then the last thing I say about trust is when I came here in 2021, most of the first people I hired, almost all the 30 first people I hired were people that I had worked with at BV. And the second person I hired quit his job without an offer from me with just my word that I would have an offer for him, he'd have a role. We didn't have a company at the time. We didn't have payroll. We didn't have benefits. We didn't have an office, but I promised I would. And I lived up to that promise. And that he's an outstanding software engineer and still works for us. So let me wrap it up real quick. Sorry, I should talk faster. So with speed and no direction, you get chaos. And if you're a parent, real chaos, right? Humane software development, humane systems for velocity, keys, empathy, providing autonomy and trust, you end up with great results, usually with pretty fast timelines, right? Culture before process. Process is important, but process that slows you down unintentionally or intentionally in a bad way, like culture over that. Culture is the important piece, and it's very critical to me, having a culture of having the autonomy, allowing people to have autonomy, being able to trust them to deliver, and being empathetic and people first, right? So engineer for humans, empathy leading to autonomy, leading to trust, will give you high velocity, generally high quality. And as leaders, whether you're an individual contributor who writes code, but you're a senior experienced person or a manager, like, be calm in that chaos. We know it's there. When, at 2 o'clock in the morning, when, all hell breaks loose, you need a calm individual. And you need somebody that knows what they're thinking. And it's like, that's why I say about my ops experience. When you're at 200 feet on a B-52, which is the minimum ejectable altitude for a navigator, and all the lights go out, all your systems shut down, you have to make a choice. And it's pretty nerve-wracking. So I think after that, I can handle leading software teams and building software teams. So thank you. There's my LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. We are hiring. I have to say that. We are hiring software engineers, management, some operations positions, and I'm really looking for a Ruby on Rails person right now. So I'd love to find somebody. Thank you.